What's up, guys? Welcome to the Resellers Podcast with Tech and Sports and Daily Refinement. Today, we're going to talk about the road to Reseller Nirvana. And that's where you have the same number of sales as the same number that you list each day. So your store essentially stays the same size. You have reached whatever goal that you have set for yourself as far as how many sales you want per day. When you finally get there, that's Reseller Nirvana. Today, we want to talk about starting from zero all the way there and sort of the different stages of growth or when you're learning. So, for everyone, Reseller Nirvana is going to be a different number.
Yeah, totally. And I think there's like three main places to be. One is the learning stage, one is the growth stage, and one is the resale nirvana stage.
Mm-hmm.
And to everybody, that's different. For me, that's listing 250 per day and selling 250 per day. And what I've always done is I've always gone into the growth mode, but then I always plateau for like a year or a year and a half. And while I plateau, my business still grows year over year. But during the plateau, you get a massive increase of money into your bank account because you're not in the growth stage of constant reinvesting for growth. So,
That's right.
a lot of times we talk about, and you say it too, you say, sometimes you'll stay at the same place for 1 year. And that's totally by design because I want to totally maximize the amount of money that I'm putting in, the money that I'm getting out, and either reinvest it into this business or into other businesses or buy real estate, whatever the case may be. But it's very difficult to bank a lot of money when you're reinvesting heavily into your eBay business so your eBay business can grow. So it's all different levels and different tactics that you have to do. But everywhere along the point, you have to do it safely, you have to do it slowly, and everything that you do has to be done with a purpose. You can't just go crazy, go bananas, and just think you can throw up a lot of items, in a short period of time and expect the same results. So that's the same thing that we preach is, slow down, be consistent, put up quality listings at a quality price. And as you learn, your processes will shrink. You will get better at your processes in time to either put up more items per day in the same amount of time or get your work done in less time. And then you're free to do whatever you want for the rest of the day. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack in that, but that's the overall, synopsis of the three stages. It's learning, growing, and then the nirvana part.
There is so much to unpack. When you are growing, you're learning a new task. So when you're learning a new task, it slows everything down. So this is the same they call it the dip, because when you're learning something, you kind of take your eye off the ball of your normal day-to-day task. When you work a regular 9 to 5, sometimes they add another thing to your job, and you've got to get that done in the same amount of time. It's the same thing when you are running your own business. If you want to go from 3 listings a day to 5 listings a day, that's 2 more items you need to prep, clean, put away, photograph. It compounds. Plus, if you can't find something when you have 5 items, it's not a problem. But if you have 500 items, it could take you 3 hours to find a missing item. Everything compounds as you grow. And we're also going to bring up Dylan's question in the chat. So we record this every week in front of our Patreon members. And Dylan's also asking, what happens when you reach Reseller Nirvana, but you're no longer satisfied? You kind of covered that just shortly a few minutes ago. You usually get the Reseller Nirvana for a while. You're not in continuous growth phase.
No, continuous growth phase is a recipe for disaster. Any business that is continuously growing, where their line is at, a steep incline, those are businesses that are burning cash. Those are very capital intensive businesses, maybe even working on, venture capital. Those
Mm-hmm.
are all the businesses that you see that throw up a high number, but they're not profitable. So
Mm-hmm.
during the growth phase, like you said, going from 3 to 5, everything compounds. But also, in order to go to 3 to 5, then you start entering the growth phase. But the growth phase is a whole other skill that you have to learn. You have to learn how to grow because anybody can grow any type of way. You can go as hard as you want and you can throw up a lot of listings, but if they're not quality listings, you are going to run into tremendous problems down the road. So that's why the number one advice I give to everybody in the group, I've never not one time told people list more. I never said that. Every time it comes up, I tell people slow down. Make sure you're putting up a quality listing, quality photo, quality price, and we go over all the things in the group of what actually makes a quality listing. And in fact, I've even recommended to you a few times, slow down your growth, make sure everything is quality, because if you grow too fast, you have a lot of problems. Like you said, you can't find items, your defects go up, your returns go up, your messages go up, your customer service goes up, and it's too difficult to increase everything that you have to do on a daily basis, such as photos, such as listing, the measurements. All of that is difficult by itself. But if on top of that you're spending more time trying to find items because your storage situation isn't set up, or a lot of returns because you're missing things in the defects, a lot of customer service because customers are unhappy, all of that compounds on top of you trying to grow your business, and that is a recipe for disaster. So that's why we always recommend grow slow, grow safe. I say it a million times: perfect first, speed later. So at every single part of this puzzle that we do, when you're learning, learn how to do it perfect first, and then you can work on speed. When you're growing, learn how to grow perfectly first, then you can work on speed. So all along the way, there's a lot of learning. You have to learn every single day. And the more knowledge that you have in your niche, the more money that you can make. And probably in the learning phase, the number one thing that you could learn is your category. And if you can cut down your research time, that will allow you to list more items and allow you to grow. But if you never learn the research part, it's very difficult to grow, because instead of researching 3 a day, now you're researching 10 a day.
Mhm.
And the more categories that you're in, the harder it is to research a million different categories. The less categories you're in, the easier the research process comes, because you become an expert at what you're selling. And if you become an expert at what you're selling during the learning phase, that then you can grow safely. But if you do not know what you're doing and all of a sudden think that you can grow, those are the people that will be out of business. So it has to be done safely, it has to be done slowly, and it has to be done in the proper way. So if you get to Reseller Nirvana and you're not satisfied, you have to still sit at Reseller Nirvana for a while, because if you're not satisfied, you need to enter the next stage of growth. So a lot of graphs, people want a straight line graph. My graph goes up, plateaus, up, plateaus, up, plateaus. During the plateau, I'm banking a tremendous amount of money, where if I want, I can reinvest it for more growth. But you cannot constantly reinvest on a straight rocket ship up, because you have no money to reinvest. All of your money is going into the business to get you to the point that you're out today. But if you grow and plateau, if you plateau for 6 months, your cost of goods stays the same.
Mhm.
Um, all your expenses stay the same, but your sales have caught up.
Mhm.
So all that catch up in sales goes right into the bank. And when you feel that you're ready to grow again, that's when you can make that capital intensive investment to grow, and to get to the next plateau in your business, where you reach resale nirvana again and you do it all over again.
One thing that I want to mention during the growth phase is when you start listing more, if you go from 5 listings a day to 10 listings a day, instantly you will get a giant boost in sales, even if you don't do a good job listing, just because the the size of your store grows so fast. There's so many new items, and if you have good product, some of it will sell. But I want to warn people, it's a ticking time bomb if your listings are not quality, because you at it's very confusing. You'll get more sales even though your store overall is worse. So you need
Yeah.
to be careful when you're growing. The thing that people always recommend in sports, the reason why they recommend slow growth in sports is to prevent injury.
Yeah.
That's the main reason they don't say go from couch to sprinting. You would for sure injure yourself if you were not an athlete and the first day you go out and sprint as fast as you can, you may never recover.
Totally. And you can throw 100 things against the wall. 3 of them are going to stick,
Yep.
but 97 of them did not stick. And eventually after
Yep.
1 year, after 2 years, you have a few hundred items that you listed without really knowing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And those items cannot be found in the search algorithm. Those items are either priced way too high and you're priced out of the market. They have bad item specifics, a bad description. Everything is bad about the listing and it cannot be found by the customer. So, like you said, when you're growing, yeah, you get that instant gratification of
Mm-hmm.
just because your store is bigger,
Mm-hmm.
just simple math, you're going to sell more items.
Mm-hmm.
But the way how we talk about doing it, if you grow your store safely with quality listings along the way and make sure none of your processes suffer, make sure your defects go down while you still grow, then you're going to have no problems growing. So when you do get to the plateau, we talk about it. So this can be a confusing thing. We talk about if your line stays straight, eventually you'll go out of business because your costs are going to overlap your straight line. Because rent goes up, cost of goods goes up, all of that stuff goes up, which is very true. But a plateau is not a plateau forever. The plateau that I'm on right now, like you say, I do 250 per day at a walking pace. This is a plateau, this is comfortable. But this plateau, year over year, I'm making a tremendous amount more money than I did last year. So there's a difference between having a scheduled plateau, which allows you to bank money, and just doing the same thing for years at a time, because that's a flat line that will eventually go down because fees go up, your margins get smaller,
Mm-hmm.
labor goes up, gas goes up, insurance goes up, all of that. So they're two different things. A plateau, a scheduled plateau that allows you to bank money and reinvest and deploy in different locations, that's scheduled, that's by design. If your scheduled design is to be flat year over year over year over year, that is a recipe to go out of business eventually, maybe when first class goes to $9.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to clear that up. There's a difference between plateau, resale nirvana, and just doing the same thing for many years in a row. Big difference between that.
Absolutely. Resell Nirvana does not mean you get the rest because everything gets more expensive.
Yeah.
Reseller Nirvana might be like the equivalent of inflation. So maybe 25 listings a week. Next year, you need 27 listings a week to
Yeah.
get to make the same amount. Maybe that's reseller Nirvana, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with that. I just don't want people to hear a plateau and think, hey, you guys talk about flat lines going down. Flat lines do go down.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm selling between $5,000 and $6,000 per day. My cost of goods, $4 each. I'm putting up 250 items per day. My cost of goods per day is $1,000. If my cost of goods keeps going up, my sales are not going to catch up immediately. It takes
Mm-hmm.
time. So it took me 10 months for my sales to catch up, from jumping from 120 per day to 250 per day. Those 10 months were the growth phase. If you can still be profitable going from 120 to 250 in the growth phase, that's a beautiful place to be. But once your sales catch up and you're listing 250, selling 250, plateauing, $1,000 in cost of goods every day, a couple $100 in labor, but the sales are $5,000 and $6,000 per day. So everything extra goes straight to the bank. So at this level of plateau is banking a tremendous amount of money, either to reinvest into the business for growth, reinvest into real estate, reinvest into another business, however it sees fit. But you can't bank all of that money while you're in grow mode. So right now, like, you're in grow mode, but once your sales catch up and you reach the plateau, that allows you to bank a lot of money to redeploy however you see fit. But right now, during this growth mode, you can't just bank thousands of dollars per day, even though you are selling thousands of dollars per day. And a lot of people don't understand the difference. You can show a graph on Instagram and not be profitable.
Absolutely. It's probably what Instagram is built for. It's built to show, like, Instagram is built for bipolar things to get liked more. So if you show an unusual amount of growth in a short period of time, it's going to go all the way to the top of the ranking on Instagram, but it's not going to show what happens after that.
Right,
And so, like, if you will run out of money. Companies that have explosive growth actually can't self-sustain.
right,
They need outside money
right.
to just serve. If they're just not making enough money to grow organically, it's
Totally,
totally different.
totally. But once you plateau and you bank that money, then you can
Yeah.
afford to to invest in your own growth, because I'm not
Right.
investing in your company. You're not investing in someone else's company. There is no
Right.
venture capital for the eBay thrifter. We have to self fund all of these things that we want to do. So by me collecting all of this money for maybe it's going to be 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, that will give me a huge advantage when I do decide to grow larger. But during that growth phase, things are tight and you have to be careful. And if you're not careful, you're losing money and it's not growing safely.
We'll give you guys an example. Let's say you're 5 listings a day and then you switch to 10.
Uh huh.
Stay at 10 for a while. Instead of going 5, 10, 15, 20, you will run out of money and space.
Uh
And
huh.
as you're learning how to deal with putting away 25 items, dealing with the customer service of 25 items, that's where problems start to happen, because most people don't think like you think and say, you know what, I'm going to stay at 25 listings for a year.
Right.
They think immediately 30, 35, 40. And I'm guilty of that too. And once you like, the Facebook group has been mind blowing to me because the growth is way faster. Like, don't worry about growth. When you get better at your job,
Yeah.
growth happens naturally. You don't need to think about growth. Just get better at photos, better at listing. Your growth will happen naturally because you'll do things faster. So if you work 2 hours in your store every day, you're going to end up listing more items in the 2 hour period without thinking about growth naturally. It's very interesting.
Right. And then you talk about like, okay, just get better at photos, get better at listing. But
Yeah.
that's what we work on all day in the group.
Yeah.
Like change your setup of the photo setup and you'll save seconds per photo or minutes per photo. List this way or list like this, or instead of putting your rack on this side, put your rack on this side. And when people share their workspaces, you get a lot of people that will give you a lot of pointers. And like Mindy in the group, she has the inverted flat lay. She has the racks right next to her. She has to take 0 steps.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best photo process in the game. And her photos, instead of taking 3 hours, now they maybe take 1 hour. Now maybe they take an hour and 15 minutes. So once she gets the listing process down pat, she's like we talk about, if you can list more items in the same amount of time, you're making more money. So like your hourly wage goes up. But like nobody wants to do this all day and all night.
Nope.
Everybody wants to get all of their work done in the shortest amount of time. That's what everybody wants to do.
Yep.
Not one person signs up for the group and says, hey, I want this to take 18 hours a day. No one signs up to say that.
Nope.
Everyone signs up to say, hey, this is my goal. And we can help them as a group reach that goal in a shorter period of time, to where either you get to go off with your family and do whatever you want to do, you get to go fishing, whatever you want to do, or you get more done in the same amount of time. And if you get more done in the same amount of time, you give yourself an ultimate pay raise. So for me, when I first started, it took me all day to do 20.
Yep.
Now, if you set me 20, I could do 20 in maybe 45 minutes.
Yep.
But I've been doing this for 12, 13, 14, 15 years.
Yep.
So like, what kind of raise did I have going all day listing 20 to now I could do that in 40 and 45 minutes? That's a humongous raise.
It's like 100x what your hourly was when you first started.
Right. But it doesn't happen overnight. And going crazy, going bananas, going crazy does not get you there.
It does
you
not.
have to be smart about what you're doing. You have to grow with a purpose. You have to get your listings up quality the very first time. If you have to go back and fix mistakes, that is an hourly decrease. If
That's right.
If your spreadsheet
Yep.
time loss is your biggest expense,
Mm-hmm.
that's an hourly decrease.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at everything that either decreases your hourly or increases your hourly. And I don't know about you, but I want to make as much money as I can per hour. I don't want to work as long as I can and make as much money.
Well, there's a couple of like huge tech and sports myths that I have to like bust. One, you are not working all day. Okay.
No.
That's number one. Number one is like, you're very productive. So when somebody hears 250 listings, they don't get it. They're like, oh, he must work 100 hours a day. There's not 100 hours in the day though.
No.
So you have to be able to do it quickly. We also have the two people who list the most in the group, I'm in third place right now. You and Jack list the most items.
Yep.
Jack is really efficient. He can list for 3 or 4 hours and list $1,000 worth of profit. And I'll tell you, this may sound crazy, but I know both of you, and both of you might have the most fun. As
Yeah.
weird as that sounds, and I'll tell you right now, since I'm in third place for listing the most, I'm having more fun now than before. But it's hard to explain to people that when you get better at your job, you have more fun. Because in this job, when you do more, you get paid more, you have more time off. If you're working a 9 to 5, yes, if you do more, you don't necessarily get paid more. You just get a smile from your boss. But like if you're working in your own business, if you work more and get more done, you get huge benefits.
But it's a lot of simple stuff that you have to try to do the most efficient way possible. Like for you had a hurdle of putting your stuff away. It
Yep.
was taking you 30 seconds to perform a task.
Yep.
You've cut that task in half or to
Yep.
even 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Just by doing that times 1,000 listings per day
Yep.
or per week, we're
Yep.
talking a savings of 2,000 seconds a week.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And if you do the math, you're home earlier now than you were 8 months ago. And your store is way more productive. You're making way more sales.
Yep.
Your defects have gone down.
Yep.
Because before, no offense, you weren't doing stuff the right way.
Nope.
But now, these last seven months, you've done the things the right way, and you don't have to go back and fix all of that other stuff. So how chaotic? Because right now you're in the growth phase, heavy growth phase.
Mm-hmm.
How chaotic would this growth phase be if it was 8 months ago and you weren't doing the things the correct way?
But I want to also let people know that the heavy growth mode just came from doing things faster.
Right.
I didn't actually do anything. I don't work more.
That's what I was going to say. You're not working more.
Yeah, I'm not working more.
You're just way more productive.
Yeah.
By making a lot of small changes, focused on quality and focused on getting your defects down.
Yeah. So yesterday I went to a sandwich shop with my 2 workers, and I asked them what they thought of the sandwich process. It was a local mom and pop place. And they said to me, I bet this sandwich shop loses money. Because first off, we ordered 3 different sandwiches. They didn't know how to make them. One person was asking somebody, what do I do? This person was asking somebody, what do I do? There was no process for how to check out. They had a COVID protocol that wasn't communicated through everyone. So everyone was doing something different and working independently. In an hour, they only made eight sandwiches.
Right.
And the owner is paying 3 wages.
Right.
The rent, and only 8 sandwiches got made. There was no profit.
So it's one or two things. It's either the owner is in the growth phase and is rapidly expanding new locations and not training everybody accordingly,
Right.
or just opened back up and has fresh new workers who are not trained properly.
That's right.
So either one of those is going to lead to a lot of defects, a lot of unhappy customers, no repeat business, and a total loss of money. But if the owner, or if they have some sort of manager or some sort of supervisor there training them the proper way, and they do not leave until everything is done with a low defect rate, if they do it that way, that shop will succeed. So you can learn all you want, but if you don't grow properly, you're going to be that sandwich shop that will never make money, and you will be out of business. And sometimes in order to grow, maybe you need to hire your nephew to take photos. Maybe you need to hire your sister to help you list. Fine, no problem. But if you don't know how to do it properly,
that's right.
Your nephew can't do it properly.
Yep.
Your sister can't do it properly. So none of those workers know how to do it properly.
That's the problem. No one knows how to make a sandwich quickly.
Correct. So anybody they hire from there is going to be exponentially worse. It's like making a copy of a copy.
That's right.
So the owner knows how to do it. These workers don't know how to do it, but these workers are going to train a new worker on how to do it.
That's right. You're paying somebody to screw up your business. That's how I look at it now.
Right. And the easy answer is to say, hey, buy a bunch of stuff, get a bunch of VAs, throw it in your store, and you'll make more money.
Which sounds like it works on paper. It sounds like it works, but it doesn't.
Doesn't work because they're not putting up quality listings. And at the end of the day, if you are responsible and you're reading over the drafts before the VAs submit them, it takes just as long to list it yourself. And
We're
if you list
giving,
it yourself, it's going to be done the right way.
I will say this, if we were talking about fun, like making reselling fun, what makes reselling really fun is being really good at listing. Because then you get the most time to go hunting. If your goal is to go hunting 8 hours a day and find 10 holy grail massive items, and you go home and it only takes you 30 minutes to list 10 items, there's no guilt. You feel awesome. There's money coming in back into the pipeline. That it's the what makes reselling not fun is piles and piles and piles of unlisted stuff. We've been doing this a long time. The people who are unhappy are the people with big death piles.
Big death piles,
Yep.
not feeling like they're getting out of it
Yep.
what they're putting in. You could put in all the time in the world, but
Yep.
if it's not done properly, you're not going to get the result that you think you're supposed to get. And eBay doesn't lie to you. Business doesn't lie to you.
No.
If you're not putting up quality listings, you're not going to get a quality result. So it's not fun having a death pile. It's not fun having all of your money sunk into inventory that is not being sold. It's not fun having a horrible storage situation and you can't find item. It's not fun arguing with customers that you didn't live up to your expectations of delivering the quality product that you put onto eBay. None of that is fun. All of that sucks. And on top of all of that, you're not making the money that you feel like you should make. That sucks and it's not fun. But what's fun is what you're doing. You're growing your business. You're seeing the results every single day. You're selling $5,000 more per week from 7 months ago to today. You're getting home earlier. Your defects have gone down. What else could you ask for?
That's something that Isaiah brought up. He said, if you start to get defects when you grow, you know you're growing too fast. Here's the
Totally.
thing. Your defects actually need to go down
Yeah.
because you're doing more volume now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have 2 defects a week and then you double your sales and cut your defect rate in half, still have 2 defects a week now.
Yeah.
So it's like you have all this other stuff to deal with. Your defect rate has to go down. Otherwise, you will run out of time. I know because I couldn't even answer questions like, when is this going to ship? Which is not even a defect.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran out of time to even do basic maintenance. So you have to grow slow so that you can handle and avoid reseller injury, which happens from growing too fast.
So when you grow, I think that these are the top defects that people who grow too fast experience. The number one thing is they can't find the item when it sells.
Absolutely.
And if you can't find the item when it sells, you have to cancel the item. You have to cancel the sale. And that is one of the worst defects that you can get on eBay is a case closed because you're out of stock. It's the worst, one of the worst ones that you can get. So the reason why you got that defect is because either your stuff isn't put away at the end of the day or your storage situation isn't what it's supposed to be. That's the number one thing that I see when it comes to growing, because you could throw up a million things, but we always get the message on Instagram or other places that say, hey, I listed all this stuff, but like it's Sunday and now I have a bunch of stuff that's not put away and I constantly have to dig in it to find it, or it's supposed to be in this bucket, but it's not in this bucket and I can't find it. What am I supposed to do? That means that you're growing too fast. And like we say before, it's like the Saturn that's redlining. And if your Saturn is redlining, it's gonna break down eventually.
And sometimes the defect is how slow it is. So Diana's saying she doesn't lose items, but she wastes time looking for stuff.
Yep.
That's still a defect. And that didn't click for me until you said you dropped the hot sauce and you had to bend over and pick it up. And I thought, oh, wow, everything adds up. If
Yeah.
you have to move something out of the way to go get something,
Yep.
move it back to get back out of that spot. It's 2 extra steps times however much you're growing. You either are taking that time away from your family because you're in the middle of the night, you're looking for items, or you could be using that time to list. It's intense. Like, part of the conversation today is Tito had brought up in the group, how does he transition to going full time? A lot of it is figuring out time management. And I have to shout out Mike from the group who said that he converted his job from 5 8-hour shifts to 4 10-hour shifts to give himself a full day to try eBay, that is fantastic. Because if you want to transition into full-time eBay, most people don't get the opportunity to try eBay for the whole day. What they do is they work Monday through Friday, and then on the weekend, they do what they can with their family. They didn't give themselves a full shot of what does it look like to work 9 to 5 on eBay.
Totally. And the advice that I gave Tito was to work at his job for as absolute long as he can, save up as much money as he can. I recommended a full year because you don't know what's going to happen with eBay. And if you save a full year of, a safety blanket,
Yeah.
that money you have to invest into your new business. So like, it's not even a full year. You can save up 6 months and you can blow through 4.5 months just investing into your new business. So, I didn't say, quit tomorrow and list 1 million items. Like, that's not going to work. I've never told anyone to list more items. Never. Listing more items is never the answer. The answer is doing everything the proper way the first time, doing that consistently, and that will grow your business. If you can be consistent in doing a quality listing every single time, that's without fail. That's undisputed and that's unbeaten.
I talk about this with Jack sometimes, which is I think the greatest skill in reselling is grading. So when you get the item, and the most profit is in pre-owned items because they're essentially thrown away or discarded, and then you take it and put it back on the market for a fraction of the brand new price. And you put your elbow grease in, and now you have that amount of difference. But if you can explain to the customer what it looks like with really, really quality photos, you can describe it properly in the title to help people find it. You sold a pair of basketball shorts for $200 that I might have sold for $20 because I don't know how to find the $200 customer.
Right. Or the knowledge isn't there to know that's a $200 pair of shorts.
Yep.
You can find the $200 customer and price them at $20.
That's true.
Because you sent me a message the day prior and said, is this a typo on the price? And I said, no. I said, those will sell. And they sold the next day. And if you have knowledge, you can make the most money. Because if you don't have the knowledge, you will not make the most money because you will undersell. So for me, I've been doing this a long time. I can look at an item, I know what it's going to sell for. I can look at an item, I know what I could buy it for. I can look at an item, I know how long it's going to take to sell. All of that knowledge helps me grow, helps me get to the Reseller Nirvana, helps me get to the places that I want to go. But if you have a pair of basketball shorts that are going to sell for $200, you sell them for $20, sure, you still made a profit, but your business overall took a haircut. You took a $180 haircut, which you can take that $180, buy a bunch of $5 items, and with that $180, probably make a couple $1,000. So like that is a haircut to your business overall. So like the more knowledgeable that you could be, the more you can maximize your time, how long items are going to sit, how often your store is going to turn over. So your storage situation stays under control, and then also maximize the amount of money that you can get for your item. If someone would offer me $150 for those shorts, I would have took it.
Yep.
Because I know they're going to sell between $150 and $200. But if I'm sitting here pinching pennies and waiting only for $200, then I have a big problem with storage. Because if I want top 1 penny for all of my items, they're never going to fit in the storage situation that I have. So I need to know these are my margins. These are the bread and butter that sells every single day. This is the prices that I need to get for this, unless I want to go out and buy a big building or I want to expand my warehouse. And I'm okay being a 32,000 item store, which is what I've been sitting at for many months. And I'm listing 250 per day. So like there's nothing fake in there. I'm listing 250 per day and my store is staying the same. Or it's going down or it goes up a little bit, but it stays in that neighborhood. So, the things that I say is the same things that I do. And when I say it in the group, you have to respect it because I'm doing it every single day. So like what I'm talking about, I'm implementing. So unless I want to get a whole nother storage situation, I need to know the absolute best market value that works inside of my business. And everyone's business is going to be differently. You have to build the business that you want to build. And the business that I want to build for right now is listing 250, selling around 250. Sometimes it's 230, sometimes it's 300.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to put $4,000 or $5,000 in the bank every day. That's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've built that business to get to that level. Maybe one day I have 50,000 items and I'm putting $8,000 in the bank every day at that plateau.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to go from 30 to 50, it's going to be a massive capital intensive effort that's going to require maybe more employees. It's going to require a bigger space. It's going to require me buying more items. Across the board, it's going to take a lot more money. And during that growth phase, things are going to be tight. But if you can make it to the plateau, the payoff is great. But if you don't know how to do the basics, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get to any kind of level. You'll get to no level. The level that you're going to get at is having a bunch of not quality listings on eBay and they're sitting in your spare bedroom not selling. That's the level that you're going to be at.
Knowledge is really, really important in your specific category, and it's the key to unlocking everything. When you know your category, you also know where to source it. Here's, I'll give you an example. Eileen Fisher is a very high-end women's brand. If you were to walk into one, you would see career-driven women that pay between $100 and $500 for a clothing item. Very expensive, very high-end. But if you delve even deeper and you go on eBay and look at the solds, let's just take a sweater. An Eileen Fisher sweater that's size small might not even sell for $20. But a size extra large might sell for $62. We're talking about the same sweater in a different size. One doesn't sell for $20 and one sells for $60 an hour after you post it. There's so much that goes into every single category. There are part sellers that list a Ford F-150 tail light and it sells in 1 second because it's really, really popular. And if you sell the wrong one, it never sells. There's so much that goes into your category. So a perfect listing also involves you knowing that specific market. Jack was talking about $10,000 graded video games. Maybe eBay's not the right platform for that. You would know that if you are in that niche. You know, eBay is doing everything to bring back certain customers for certain niches. They have no fees for over sneakers that are $100 or more because they're getting their butt kicked. Every single platform is outselling eBay in sneakers. You know, Alfredo and the group's killing it on Poshmark in a sneaker game. It makes sense because Poshmark has Posh Post, which is $8 to ship up to 5 pounds. Of course, they're going to drive sneaker buyers there because sneaker buyers can get a couple bucks less and get the same deal. So it's interesting thinking about what customers are looking for. People are looking for authenticity, StockX. It takes longer to send it to StockX first to authenticate, but obviously customers want that because that platform exploded. So thinking about your customer, who is buying your stuff, is massive because if you're selling Gucci and Louis Vuitton, flat lay on the ground doesn't work. You have
Nope.
to know who your customer is.
And everything that you just said, if you're trying to do video games, shoes, and Louis Vuitton,
Yeah,
there's not enough time in the day.
there's not.
You cannot know the $10,000 video game that needs to be sold on Heritage Auction rather than eBay.
Yep.
You cannot know the very best shoes and the sell-through rate. You cannot know Louis Vuitton. You cannot know that all the improvements in the baseball card category. You cannot know blenders. You cannot know microwaves. There's not enough time in the day
Yep.
to do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to maximize what you're trying to do, that's not the way to do it. And you used to be a jack of all trades. When you were a jack of all trades, you had no time and your blood pressure was up.
I know. It literally was killing me.
But you've niched down a little bit. You're doing clothing and everything gets done faster because you're becoming more knowledgeable inside the niche. You don't need to go out there and chase ping pong paddles and tennis rackets.
No, you don't. I am.
It costs you time and it costs you
time.
money.
And every category is different. Let's go back to Louis Vuitton. If let's say you want to sell a Speedy bag, it's very common, extremely popular. It's the bowling ball bag that you see with the monogram. It's everywhere. That bag, if you look at the top sellers, they usually have 40 pictures. So they have the 12 photos that eBay gives you. Plus, if you scroll down in the description, there's 28 more photos because authenticity is so important when you're selling in that category. They have every angle of every tag of every stitch so that you can, in your mind, believe this is the real deal. Now, if you're selling a Tommy Hilfiger purse that has an MSRP of $80, you don't need to do that. It's totally different. So understanding the specific niche usually means, Dylan is in the group talking about he only sells the good stuff. I personally do not know which Lego minifigures are the good stuff. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What is the good stuff comes from you selling in that category for a while and recognizing what the good stuff is.
That's exactly what we're talking about. He was in the learning phase and was selling everything.
Yep.
When he wanted to grow, he knew what items to sell and how long they're going to take to sell. And that allows him to grow. Because if you're learning and listing a bunch of items that don't sell, you don't have the money to grow.
Yep.
Once you pinpoint what sells for you, and it's going to be different for everybody.
Yep.
Maybe you can sell LL Bean better than I can.
Yep.
You pick up every piece of LL Bean, you're going to do great. I pick it up, I go bankrupt. It's different for everybody.
Yep.
So what he did, he trimmed the fat. Maybe Indiana Jones minifigs don't sell. But what I need to do, since Star Wars sells like crazy and has an insane sell-through, I need to go and find the source or acquire or seek or look for Star Wars minifigures. If I acquire a tremendous amount of Star Wars minifigures that have a 30-day sell-through, I can accelerate my business and then I can grow. But you can't grow with Indiana Jones figures that never sell. You also can't grow by having 100 Mr. Gold figures because they're not there. So while Louis Vuitton looks great, no one is buying Louis Vuitton for $1.
I know. It's a totally
looks
different
great.
game.
It looks great, but no one's buying it for $1. So like the graph looks great, but you're making no money. Yep. So Dylan can go out and look for Mr. Golds, but he's going to be looking till the end of time because that's a limited edition figure. There's not a lot of them out there, and he can't build a business around doing that. But if he found one, it looks awesome. It looks great.
Yeah.
But he could have paid $499 and the minifig sells for $500. But at the end of the day, either you want to flex or you want to build a business. And working on your business inside of your business and doing a quality listing, spending the time to do things quality, there's no flex in that.
No, because the majority of huge businesses, their average sale price is between $8 and $30. That will get 0 likes on Instagram. Any item that's $8 to $30 is not a cool enough find that people would like your post. It's not cool. But you can find millions of them.
But I'll tell you this, while Dylan's growing his Lego business, he will more often than not find a Mr. Gold minifig eventually one day.
Yep.
Because he's acquiring more product.
Yeah, he'll find it.
So like me, I'm in the everyday value, but I come across so many Grails because I'm processing so many more items at the level that I'm at of doing, listing 1,500 or more items per week. Just the nature of the beast, they just come. But I can't spend all of my time looking for the Grails and still run a profitable business.
Also, when you learn how to list really well in one category, you'll run into a Grail of a different category. And that's potentially the beginning of a new department. Like you sell hats and clothing. It's still clothing, but a hat is still a little bit different than a shirt. Yeah. But if you have a procedure for how you list shirts, listing a hat, and if you come upon a huge supply of them, it's not going to ruin your business because you know how to list it. So it's like, I was very surprised that your method of listing works for any category.
Works for any category. Hats, been selling hats for a very long time. I sell a lot of vintage clothes. The vintage clothing customer is also the vintage hat customer. So they're already in my store shopping. It's kind of like an add-on and a bonus. And, I sell a lot of hats. I'm #1 seller in pre-owned hats, as crazy as it is, even though hats is not entirely my full focus. But the vintage buyer is also the vintage hat buyer. And if you can list a shirt, you can list a hat. But when I list hats, it's in batch. I don't list one hat, one shirt, one jacket, one pant, one hat. I don't do that. I list hats across the board, maybe 50 whenever I decide to do hats. but I do hats because the customer is already there. For me to go out and start looking at minifigs, I don't have the minifig customer.
No.
I have the vintage guy and maybe the 35 to 60 demographic. That's what I have. And by having the vintage customer and the 35 to the 60 demographic, I have the whole demographic. But in order to grow your business, you have to know who your customer is. And you can ask a lot of people who their customer is and they don't know who it is.
You know, what's funny is that somebody in the group said that there's a uniform for the people who wear vintage tees and vintage hats. And
At the
you
bins,
can,
yeah.
in your mind, you can kind of think of this
Yeah,
this purveyor of vintage tees and vintage hat probably hasn't showered in a week. They have a look. They have a look. You can kind of spot who would buy your item.
totally. 100%, man. Yeah. And I have that demographic and I also can sell to his dad.
You do have that demographic. Yes.
But I know the customer. So if I know what customer I have, I know what I could buy. But if you don't know your customer, you don't know what to buy.
Also, a vintage hat customer probably wants a different shipping method. If you were to
Absolutely.
put the hat in a poly mailer, you'd probably have an upset customer.
Big problems, man. Every single niche, every single category has things that need to be done a certain way. Like for Dylan, if he just throws a minifig in a poly bag, they probably want it in a bubble mailer with cardboard on each side, and maybe even tape the minifig with blue painter's tape to the cardboard so it doesn't shake around it and get messed up. But you only know that when you become an expert in your niche.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're out here selling new era hats in a poly bag, and that doesn't last for very long.
You see people, selling sports cards. A lot of people sell sports cards in the group, toys. That's very different. And I do want to point out that sometimes not being able to find inventory is okay. You have Philip in the group. He's selling vintage toys, doing very well, and he has the problem of sourcing. That's okay. You can deal with that problem and find ways to get inventory. That's a much easier problem to deal with than putting up poor quality listings. That's a problem that's very difficult to fix.
I think the biggest problem is still buying when you already have stuff. It's
Yeah.
okay also
Oh, that's
to
true.
pass on a deal.
Overbuying.
It's okay to pass on a deal.
That's right.
I get deals every day.
Yep.
I buy next to zero of them. It's okay to pass on deals as well.
That's so true. That's really hard for people to say no to a profitable deal, but it's your biggest mistake if you have too much stuff.
But the person who says, I'm a great buyer will
Yeah.
never pass on a deal. The person who in their mind and in their identity is a great lister, it's much easier to pass on that deal.
Oh yeah. That's so true. If you are a great lister, you'll say no to almost everything, actually.
Totally. Because it's not going to fit what you're doing.
Man, that's fascinating.
So my business has people that are great buyers, and guess how many listings they do per week? Zero, because they buy for me and I list it.
That's right.
I don't need these guys listing anything. They're great buyers. Go buy. But you have to be a great lister. If you're not a great lister, and listing sucks. Nobody wants to list. It sucks. But that is the most crucial part of this business, because how many times has someone knocked on your door, Chris, and say, hey, let me look at all of your unlisted inventory?
I know.
I want to buy your unlisted inventory today, Chris. Chris, today's your lucky day. I want to look through your death pile.
And no one ever buys anything in the back room.
Never. You have to be disciplined. You have to be consistent. And being disciplined and being consistent are almost shamed this day and age. Having the discipline to get your work done and then enjoy the rest of the day, you can shame somebody for doing that. But you have to be disciplined. You have to be consistent. And in the group, we have the morning calls every morning with you. Every day you say, hey, what are you working on today? The number one thing is being consistent.
Yep.
The number two thing is trying to get a schedule.
Yep.
Which, guess what? That's the same thing. So the number one and the number two problems of most people is being consistent and having a schedule. Nobody says I'm selling too much stuff and I can't ship it.
Usually that's not a common problem. No.
No. The common problem is being consistent and having a schedule. And if you can get a consistent schedule, you can build any kind of business that you want to have. If you want to work from 8 to 10, you could build that business.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to work from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., you could build that business.
Mm-hmm.
A guy on Instagram wrote me today that he got 10 listings up, and he sent me that message at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
He said he has the rest of the day to do whatever he wants to do.
Yep.
That's the business that he wants to build. That's not the business that I want to build. I want to build a business where I get there like 7:30 and I leave at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
And that's what I have right now. Some days I'm done at 2, some days I'm done at 1, but I report in now at 7:30, leave at 1, 250 listings go up every single day, and the weekends are already finished.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't happen overnight. It's not an accident. And the only way you get there is by being consistent every single day. But that's the business that I wanted to build. You don't have to be consistent every single day.
Nope.
No one's under that obligation.
Nope.
It doesn't matter.
And I want to point out that you do 7 days of work in 5 days. And Mike in the group posted he does 7 days of work in 1 day.
Great.
For him, his goal is 70 listings. He does it all on Tuesday.
Great.
That's great.
70, you launch 10 per day, you get 6 days off a week. You could go fishing, you can go to Cancun, you come back on Saturday and you bust out your week. If that's the business you want to build, great.
You can do that.
No one is under any obligation to build 100 a day, 80 a day, 120 a day, 180, 8,000 a day. No one's under any obligation to do that. You just have to build the business around the life that you want to live. And if you want maximum results, that's a different conversation than the person who does not want maximum results.
I think that's really the biggest takeaway is consistency in your schedule. You get to create that for yourself, and it really will set you free. And it's also the part that maybe is the most like because people want to be an entrepreneur so you can live life on your own terms.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to set those terms.
Totally. I agree with you, man. I get to wake up every single day and do exactly what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to do today. This is exactly what I want to do tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
What I do, I enjoy doing it. If I did not want to do this, I would not do it. And everyone has to do what they want to do every single day. If you want to dig holes all day and you enjoy digging holes, then that's what you need to do. But you just have to find what works for you, build whatever you want to build around that, and then go do it. And the only way to get any kind of results is to be consistent. It doesn't matter if you're listing on eBay, if you're a parent, if you're a husband, if you're a brother, if you're a sister, it does not matter. If you are not consistent with your spouse, you're gonna have trouble. If you're not consistent with your eBay business, it's gonna be trouble. If I'm not consistent with my brick and mortar store, it's gonna be trouble. Mm-hmm. If the sign says I'm open 7 days a week and we're only open 3 days, I got trouble. The customer that comes when I'm not open is not gonna come back. You have to be consistent in all aspects of life if you want to have a low defect life across the board, man. That's the bottom line.
So I want to touch base on something because Isaiah brought it up, Kendra's brought it up, and myself, you, and Jack in the group, we all do this. We do bulk buying, mm-hmm. and it can cripple you.
Yeah.
But it's also what large sellers do. So it's kind of, maybe it's the different phase. Yep. I would not recommend buying bulk when you're starting.
Nope. No. If you're learning, buying bulk is a recipe for disaster, because buying bulk, we've talked about it before. When you buy bulk, you need a secondary avenue for those items, whether it's a flea market, whether it's sitting at a garage sale in front of your house on a Saturday, or for me, a brick and mortar store, because that's how much stuff that I get that I don't want to sell on eBay. Or you can buy in bulk and never list it, and it can go sit in your spare bedroom for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But if you want to do it the right way, the safe way, the responsible way, you have to have that secondary avenue already thought of before you start acquiring the bulk. Because when you acquire bulk, there's going to be stuff that is not eBayable to list. And
Yep.
if you're brand new and all of a sudden you have all of this bulk stuff, it's going to cripple you. You won't know where to start. So once you've learned your craft, once you've learned your processes, if you want to pour gasoline on the fire, either you need to source a little bit more and acquire more items, or your knowledge needs to go up and you can acquire more items in the same amount of time because you know more things to buy, or you need to hit more stores, you need to go to the flea market more often, or you could buy in bulk because your processes, your storage situation, your customer service, your listing ability, and your photo ability can handle an influx of a bunch of items. And those bunch of items that do not work for your eBay business, you have to have a secondary source, whether it's to sell it to some bozo up the street, whether it's to have 3 storage units full and you never touch it, garage sale, flea market, brick and mortar store, offer up, Craigslist. There's a million ways to get rid of it, but you can't just hold it and let it cost you a lot of money. Because how many times can you afford to keep buying in bulk and 10% or 20% or 30% is not sellable and it's sitting here collecting dust and collecting money? You can't afford to do that forever. And if you're doing that during the growth phase, that's when you get crippled. So there's a lot of things that you have to learn while you're growing. Growing is learning. You have to learn how to grow as well.
And you might as well grow slowly.
That's what we talk about every day.
Yeah.
We never say go 20 to 100. Never, not one time.
So you said something to me because, and I'll go into this. So Jack said the fastest way to get killed on Amazon is a brand new seller thinking they can start with bulk liquidation.
I agree.
So a brand new eBay or Amazon seller buys a pallet, they get it. They don't know how the platform works and they don't know how to grade and they don't know their customer.
No, it's especially easy on Amazon because
Yeah.
you can scan this right here and it says it's going to sell for $40. That's the buy box.
Right.
But the rank might be so astronomical that it will never sell. But all you see is you can turn this into $40 and you send it in.
Mm-hmm.
You can only do that so many times before Amazon tells you that's enough. Stop sending stuff in. And now all your stuff that you've sent in, we're just going to charge you a storage fee on top of that. Total recipe for disaster to go out of business.
There's something that you said that affected me a few months ago, which was your inventory is all keepers. When it
Yeah.
arrives, it either goes to the brick and mortar or it goes on eBay, but it's all keepers. After I heard that, I stopped buying bulk because I buy in bulk, but I still look over every single item and whatever I don't buy, I don't take with me.
Right.
And then since I've matured over this last 7 months, I'm not tempted to buy. Literally 4 months after talking to you, I still thought buying a bicycle a week was still a good idea because why not? And so now I realize that in order for everything to be a keeper, I have to know how to get it listed. So
Yeah.
I'm only buying stuff that's ready to go. Even Jack in the group has a storage unit of stuff that's unlisted. I mean, it one way of dealing with it is not dealing with it.
Totally. And for me, since I do have the brick and mortar store,
Yeah.
almost everything becomes a keeper because someone in the brick and mortar store will buy it.
Right.
So that's why like everything is a keeper. So the criteria is it needs to be an eBay item. These are the brands that I buy.
Mm-hmm.
Or it needs to be a cool enough shirt where someone can see it on a rack that they're going to pick it up and they're going to buy it. And if it's eBayable, it'll get sold there. If it's cool enough where someone will see it on a rack and they'll buy it, it will sell there. It's a very broad spectrum of things that can come to me. But if they bring me sundresses or they bring me 1920s antique dresses, those I don't know what to do with those because I'm not an expert in antique dresses. I don't have a mannequin to list them. It would take me 4 hours to list one dress, and I can't sell that dress at my brick and mortar store.
Mm-hmm.
So it either needs to be a quality eBay item, they know the brands that I buy, or a cool enough shirt where someone sees it in person, they will buy it. So for you with the bikes, why did you decide not to do the bikes? I'll guess you sold a bike and it was a pain to ship.
It was at first I bought the bike
Yeah.
So I bought a $150 bike that sold for that. The comp said 900.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay, that sounds good. So I got it. Then when I was posting it, I looked at solds, and people were saying stuff like recently tuned up.
Oh.
These are the different parts that are the different components that it has. And I was like, oh, I didn't look at the component. I don't know what components are on this bike. All I know
Mhm.
is the frame is valuable. So there goes your whole day. You got to go to the bike store, figure out what components are on it. I decided to pay for the tune up. There goes $100. Don't know how to ship it. So $75 for the bike shop to pack and ship for me. And this guy said to me, there are so many people like you that have no idea how to sell a bike. We kill it because of people like you. So what you do is, this is what you should do. You should just, every time you find a cool bike, come here and then just, we'll do the whole thing for you. We'll tell you what components are on it. We'll pack and ship it for you. All you have to do is bring it here. We'll tell you what's on it. Go home, make the listing. When it sells, drop it off here and then email us the label, because it's way harder than you think to be able to sell bikes. Unless you like a high return rate, then do it yourself.
Yeah, and imagine getting that message that says, "I want to return this bike."
Yeah, no, exactly. Then you got to get it back. So actually, the storage is also a pain. Bikes are not convenient.
Yeah.
You have 4 or 5 bikes in your storage. You can't get around. They're also depreciating as you bang them up by moving them
Yeah.
around.
Totally.
You may get it tuned up, and by the time you sell it, it's not tuned anymore. I mean, there's a lot to it. And so when I asked, because I was thinking about getting a commuter bike to go back and forth, or just to ride around, and I was like, oh, I'll buy it on eBay. Every single bike person I talked to said, don't do that. Buy it from the store.
Mm.
You don't have time to figure out how if it's working or not. By the way, the people that you buy from on eBay, they don't know what they're doing. You can be
Right.
getting a bike that's not ready to ride. There's so much to every single category. And it's so tempting when you see that $100, $200, $500 profit margin to just jump right in. But you don't realize at the end of the day, you've lost money after all the time you've invested in it, really.
Right. Because your machine right now, instead of running around for multiple days, you could have listed 500 items.
Absolutely. And also, it's not something you can do on the side. People are, oh, I'll just get my normal 25 listings, and then afterwards I'll list the bike. That's not really how it works, because you're excited to list the bike. You get on that first, then it's 4 o'clock and you haven't listed anything.
Right. But on the flip side, we've seen stores that are dedicated bike stores with dedicated, bike setups for
Yep.
tune-ups, for repairs,
Yep.
dedicated storage.
Yep.
Everything is built around the business that they wanted to make. They
Yep.
can crush it with bikes.
Yep.
But if I give them a Polo Suicide ski jacket, they'll be running all over town just like you were.
And the biggest bike seller that I know, he's in the group also. He parts out bikes to avoid what we just talked about.
Uh,
He's like, I just want to sell one gear, one frame, one fork, one handlebar, because there's only one thing can go wrong. If you sell complete bikes, there's like 210 things that could go wrong.
right. And also, when you sell parts, the person that finds that part usually knows exactly what they're buying and exactly what they're doing. So you greatly reduce the risk. But again, that's a different business that you have to build. And if you want to be in the bike part business, you can build that business. You could build that business to be done at 12 o'clock as well. But you have to build the business that you want to build. It doesn't matter what avenue you want to go down. There's enough items in the United States of America for everybody to have a piece. But if you don't, if you aren't consistent at it, and if your processes are not streamlined and all your ducks are not in a row, you could buy everything in the United States of America, but it's only going to cripple you more and more and more every single day.
You know, when I sold that last piece of furniture and I put in the listing, if it doesn't sell by Monday, I'm just donating it. I feel like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And then somebody posted in the group, "What am I doing? I'm in Michael's right now, figuring out how to redo the upholstery for this mid-century modern chair. But I'm a shoe seller." Somebody put that in the group.
Yeah.
They're figuring out how to upholster a chair on YouTube at the store when they're a shoe seller.
But at least at least the bell rang and they said, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yep.
And that's half the battle right there, man. Half the battle is saying no. And for a lot of people, saying no is the hardest thing to do. So
Absolutely.
say no to that. Say yes to being consistent. If I was running for the president of the United States, that would be my platform. Say no to buying extracurricular activities. Say yes to listing.
It is so crazy now with all of the resources and hearing about. You could go on the Instagram and hear about 10 different things you've never heard of that sell for great money. Discontinued cosmetics,
Yeah.
this special toothpaste, this rare Oakland Raiders script hat. I live in Oakland. Should I be out there hunting for the Oakland Raiders script hat because it sells for buku money? But it's really hard to find.
Yeah. There's so many rabbit holes to go down, and that's the problem, man. Like you have to know, you more or less have to know who you are and what you want to do. And if you don't know who you are and what you want to do, it's a lot easier to get squirrel brain and do 100 different things. I know who I am. I'm a guy that's going to list 250 items today and tomorrow, and I'm more than happy doing that. And that's all that I want to do. If you give me bicycles, I don't want to see them. I don't care. I'm not a
Yep.
bicycle seller. I have no desire to sell bicycles. What I
You
have a
couldn't,
desire to do is list my items in the allotted amount of time and then go do what I want to do after that. That's what I want to do, and that's who I am.
one thing that is always funny is that people like Yesenia is saying, can we highlight some people who don't sell clothing, like maybe a toy seller? Most of the people in the group don't sell clothing, I would say. The majority do not. Because, and they still listen to this podcast because it's exactly the same.
Yep.
There's nothing different between clothing or toys. It's just your process is custom. The best advice I got at eBay Open from the big wigs, the people making millions of dollars on eBay, is that your solution is custom. That
Yeah.
guy's bike shop rig looks like your table that you got out of the trash can and just made work for your business. It
Yep.
isn't, it's just specific to what you do. Make your system work because it's custom for everyone. I'm sure Jack's video game processing setup is perfect for getting items loaded into a box for FBA. But
Yeah.
it's horrible for listing vintage typewriters.
Totally. Your setup is custom.
Yep.
You have the unit side by side. You have
Yep.
your photo booth in a strategic place. Your
Yep.
listing in a strategic place. You have a bin system on racks. Your whole setup is custom for selling clothing, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't put bicycles in a bin system.
Nope.
You can't put bicycles in your photo booth. Like, so you have no reason buying bicycles and typewriters because you're not set up to do that. And that's the easiest question to answer when you're presented with a buy is, am I set up to do this? Yes or no?
Yep.
And if you're not set up to do it, then don't buy it. But in the group, we have a lot of jewelry sellers, a
Yep.
lot of toy sellers, a lot of
Mhm.
dedicated shoe sellers. There's clothing sellers. A lot of people do liquidation. There's a lot more industrial people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
There's people in every single category because it doesn't matter what the category is. It's just straight fundamentals. It's fundamentals every single day. If you want to do industrial, it's the same fundamentals. You have to build the business around selling industrial equipment. An industrial seller is not going to have the same setup that I have. They can't put capacitors, they can't put all this kind of electronics on a clothing rack. It's not going to work.
Mm-mm.
So, but what they can learn is this is how I do my storage system. By this, by this, by this. You could do your storage system the same way. You just have to build your storage system that way and do it by date, do it by size, do it by color, however you decide to do it. The fundamentals are the same and translate across the board. You just get the head start of a bunch of people that have already figured it out. And the trial and error portion of setting up your system can be greatly reduced by just asking a question to people that have already done it.
That's right. And looking at how somebody does it unlocks how you do it. Like, looking at this is funny. We're both clothing sellers. We only have one category that's the same. It's very interesting. It depends on where you are. So I find that fascinating that we both, our top 10 categories, only one is the same. That's how crazy eBay is. It's so different for everyone in the group, and it's not possible to copy someone. It really, you can't even do it because their circumstances are different. Their storage is different.
You can't even do it even when the guy who has the fastest way to do it tells you that's the fastest way to do it, and you still don't do it.
And I know when I look at the different, um, it's the way that you do it is so fast that it sort of like people dismiss it like it
Yeah.
doesn't even exist.
But to each his own. Never, not one time have I told anybody that's the way they have to do it.
No,
Never.
no.
Never. You have to build a business around what you want to do. If you want to have vertical flat lay, your process is going to be different than mine. It's probably going to be slower than mine as well. But that's the trade-off. Because you're 6'4", you don't want to do flat lay. That's
Yep.
fine. That's fine. Never, not one time have I said, dude, you're doing it wrong. You got to do flat lay. Never.
No.
But what I said, if you're going to do vertical, when you sent me the video, I said, hey, move that table this way and make it waist high.
Mm-hmm.
Just by doing that, it's going to save you 3 seconds every single time. And 3 seconds over the lifetime of your business is like years of your child that you're going to get to see extra. Yep. Just by little tiny improvements every single day that other people can spot. And sometimes you can't spot them because you're narrow focused inside working every single day. It's difficult to spot improvements when you have blinders on. It's very, very difficult to do that. But once you open it up and see the larger picture, it's easy to put the pieces on where they need to go. And for me, since I've gone from zero to now going to do $2 million this year in sales just on eBay, I've seen the complete picture from zero to over $2 million. But like, if you've never gone to $2 million, you can't give the advice on these are the processes or these are the things that you need to do. I can't give you advice on how to make a $20 million business because I've never done it. But what I would recommend is, since I'm doing 2 million, do what I do, just do it 10 times more. But if you can surround yourself with people who have the big picture because they've already seen it, it's only going to give you the shortcut. But the shortcut is a double-edged sword. The shortcut that you take, I can say it till I'm blue in the face. You have to do it smart and you have to do it slow. Just because you have the shortcut don't mean that you can get to a $2 million business in 2 years.
No, I was even telling Isaiah that he was messaging me earlier, and I'm like, it's going to take a couple of years for me to figure out where I'm currently at without growing.
Yeah.
It's like not like sometimes it just takes a lot of repetitions. And I know if it were to grow faster, it would just be injury.
No. Yeah.
It just is. It's just going to result in a bunch of defects. It's really difficult to what actually, this is what you learn. Me meeting you taught me that slow is the fastest way.
Totally.
But it's not what you hear. What you hear fast is work all day, don't sleep, 24/7. That has nothing to do with it.
Totally, man. And you know all the pieces. You talk to me every single day. You know everything to do. But it is still going to take you many years, if you choose, to get to $2 million per year. Even though you know everything to do. You're multiple years out if you choose to get that big. But like, you understand that and you know that. But you can go crazy and list 1 million items, but you're going to be out of business. Defects are going to be too high. You're going to get banned. You're going to get suspended. You're going to list items that are going to get zeroed. And you can only do that a handful of times. And when you list 92,000 items a year, you can only mess up 1, 2, or 3 times and you're totally out of business, suspended, if you list the wrong items.
And you can also get a Vero after it has
Absolutely.
sold. I want people to remember that. Just if you think you got away with it because you sold it and then you received the money already and shipped it, you didn't.
That's what people try to do. People try to sell it cheap real quick and think they did it. No, those people, those brands, they go back and look at the solds as well.
Yeah.
And they'll whack you for a Vero for something that you sold 4 months ago. So The Veros, in my opinion, they kind of go up and they kind of go down, up and down, up and down. But I'm having people message me more and more this time of year that the Veros are out. People are getting hit for all birds. People are getting hit for selling sweaters that say TikTok on the front. People are getting hit for stock photos.
Mm-hmm.
And the Veros, they're hot right now. In a couple months, maybe they'll be low again. But all of these large companies, they outsource the Vero situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of third-party companies that regulate the Veros for these big brands, and these Veros go to these marketplaces on either a quarterly basis or something more often. And anytime you get a Vero, Google it, find out who enforces that brand, go to their website. Any brand that they represent is a no-go for me after that. But if you read their website, they'll tell you right there. They look at the marketplaces on a quarterly basis and enforce your Vero policy. And if they're looking on a quarterly basis, everything on eBay is still alive. So it doesn't matter if you sold it 60 days ago, they're going to come for you. So this particular brand with the TikTok, one person in the group got hit, a pretty big YouTuber got hit. That brand enforces those brands on a quarterly basis. And everyone who has TikTok on eBay got handed a Vero.
Yep.
And you have to know this stuff. Otherwise, you could take a 3-day vacation. It'll be a 7-day vacation. It'll be a 30-day vacation. And then it will be a permanent vacation. And if you don't know how to grow smart, grow slow, and set yourself up to be success, you are more likely than not going to sign yourself up for the permanent vacation.
We want to highlight that we have help with photography and accounting, and have Monday through Friday, I do the coaching call in the morning, every other Thursday with Cheryl, every other Thursday with Mark for photos. What we're trying to do is continuously add new value to the group without changing the price. Yep. We just feel like that is a better way to do it, instead of nickel and diming people along the way.
Yep. I mean, it's $1 per day. And the only reason why it's not no dollars per day is because if it was no dollars per day, every single Yahoo would be in the group and it would be a massive waste of time. Literally $1 per day separates people that are serious and separates a Yahoo that is going to waste everybody's time. And we have nobody wasting time. Everybody is chasing after the same thing. You know, you do your call Monday through Friday. For me, I think that is the most valuable thing that I watch every single day and every single week is watching that morning call. I do the call on Tuesday. I'll be on for 2 or 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, answer every single question everybody has. Like you said, Cheryl does tax help on Thursday. Mark does photo help on Thursday. Jack does Amazon help on Thursday or Friday. And all we want to do is just increase value and try to help as many people that we can build the business around the life that they want to live. That's it at the end of the day. And me and you, we're in the group all day answering questions. Like I try to provide the most quality answer that I can give every single time that I provide a reply. There's no copy paste. There's no, rubber stamping it in. It's none of that. Everything is detailed. It's quality because I want to guide everybody in the right, successful way. And, I'm on video hundreds of hours so far. I have not guided anybody the wrong way because if I have, they would let me know in the group. So I'm accountable to everybody's success. And whether it's one person in the group or 600 people in the group, the amount of effort that I'm going to put in is always going to be exactly the same. I had a group previous to this that was way smaller. They got the same effort that this group gets as well. Everything that we put out is going to be quality. And if it's not quality, I cannot have my name attached to it. And that's a 100% guarantee.
Yeah, Isaiah is right. There might be shoe calls and toy calls coming next because those are very popular.
Man. Awesome. That would be great.
And I just saw a post in the group from Shannon saying that her defects went from high to low.
Nice.
And that's probably the best news we can hear. That's fantastic.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah.
So guys, we do have a $99 coaching level. If you're in that group, once we end the call tonight, rejoin the Zoom call. And it's, in full disclosure, it's the same as the Facebook group, except for you can chat with us privately every other Wednesday. So if you feel that that's valuable, then you can sign up at that tier. But otherwise, you can feel free to tag us on any post in the Facebook group. We'll still give you the same quality answer. It's the same. And I've learned that from you too as well. Might as well, instead of doing the bare minimum, help somebody the most you can on that post.
Yeah.
And everyone in the group is drinking the same Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
List consistently, improve your process, reduce defects. You come up with your own reseller Nirvana, whatever number that is.
Totally, man. And the same thing I talk about is the same thing that I do every single day. When I say the reseller Rolodex, I practice that.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency, I practice. Doing things the right way, I practice. Like everything that I do is on full display. And if I wasn't doing the things that I say that I do, that's a different kind of person. And that's not a person that I want to be at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, I hope everybody has the success that they're looking for, whether it's 5 items a day, 10 items a day, 100 items a day, 1,000 items a day, whatever you seek. I hope that you're able to build the business around that and you're able to live the life that you want to live. If you want to work from open to close, hats off to you. If you want to work from 8 to 10 in the morning, hats off to you. There's no shame in someone who doesn't want to work all day and someone that does want to work all day. Whatever you're happy doing, you have my full blessing and full support. If you are not getting the results that you want to get, that's a different conversation. But if you're happy with the results that you're getting and you're doing the things the right way, my hat's off to you. The ultimate respect to everybody that's out there doing that.
That is huge. I mean, anyone that's out there doing it and trying to improve their life has my
Yeah.
respect. It's not easy. You get out there and you can work for somebody else where they do all the thinking, or you can do it by yourself and you do all the thinking. There's a
Yeah,
lot to
man.
it. I love it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time this week. And if you're in the $99 call, just rejoin after we end it right now.